the importance of your appearance. Because your appearance, right from the moment we can see you when you walk in, when you walk on a stage. And with that first appearance, you telegraph to the audience what they're going to get by how you carry yourselves. And my fellow adjudicator and myself looked at each other and went, oh, this is going to be good. And then we looked at the repertoire you're playing and went, oh, good. Oh, boy. We were very excited. And then you sat down and you played that beautiful hymn to warm up, which is very wise because you want to get used to the sound of the room, because it's probably very different from the sound of your rehearsal room at home. So you did all the right things, and then you played magnificent repertoire incredibly well. So you have achieved musicianship and maturity, most certainly. What is the difference between a good band and a great band? Any ideas? The differences? Yes. First time I got the right answer today. Attention to details. Paying attention to those fine details. Now, when you're in grade 6 or 7 and you play the right notes, everybody goes, oh, those are the right notes. That's fantastic. Now we just expect the right notes. The right notes is your responsibility, coming in prepared, understanding what the basics are on the page. But then adding all the details that turn the right notes into music, because the right notes are not music. A machine can do that. It's the expressiveness and expressing all of those little things like the difference between accent and staccato, which you clearly understand. What's your concept of a staccato? How do you define staccato? Ooh, it got very quiet.
Everybody might have a different word. Short and light?
Okay, light, most definitely. I like not to think of staccatos as short because sometimes people squish them if they think short. The words we use to describe these things affect our concept of how we play them. So choosing the right words is crucial. I like to think of light and detached for staccato. So rather than this, it's this. Think of a jellyfish going up to the surface, staccato. Okay? We don't want to squish them and we don't want to hit them hard. Okay? Accents then. What's your concept of an accent? Because you all are doing them right, how do you define them? You've probably only heard it 3,000 times. Yeah. Bell tone, it is exactly what it looks like, a teeny tiny decrescendo, right? Bigger at the front of the note, smaller at the end of the note, and ever so slightly detached. They don't attach to each other because otherwise you can't express the next accent if you play right into the next note, okay? You're doing that. And then these guys, marcato. What is that? What's your thought on that? Yes? Yeah, it's percussive. It's percussive. That's fantastic. Okay? Now, I know that all of this, what you've heard, you agree with. You clearly all understand these things, which is fantastic. And you express them. Your concept of dynamics is fantastic. Your expression of dynamics. Occasionally, on some of the quieter dynamics, we lost our balance a little bit. Some of the, because of the way the instruments work, when we move into upper registers on clarinet and on trumpet, the upper register notes simply express themselves as bigger. They may or may not be, but they're more piercing and they cut through the texture. So sometimes we need some of the lower pitches, the second, third trumpets, clarinets, lower trombone and baritone horn parts in order to balance things out. We'll talk about that. It was good, but there are tiny details where we could improve. This is the wonderful and horrible thing about music, is there is always room to do more. The other thing is that it's art. So there may be things that I tell you today that your director, who is incredibly able, disagrees with entirely. And the thing is, she's right. Because her job is to express a vision with you and create music out of paper and black dots. Okay? And there's more than one way to approach it. There's the possibility of a wrong interpretation, but that would be somebody just changing everything. So if I say anything that contradicts what you have been doing in the piece, just know that that's how I express it artistically, but go with what you learn, because it is your director's job to put you into a direction that expresses what she wants you to do, okay? More than one right answer is the thing. So tell me, we talked about the I'm really tired. I didn't expect to have to adjudicate at my festival. We talked about the articulations and how you express those so well and how you're defining them. I would like to know dynamics. For example, forte, the F. What is that? How do you approach that? Yes?
Like a strong dynamic?
Strong is an excellent word. Any other words?
Loud.
Okay, so that is not a musical word. So, and I see that you've heard this story before. Loud is a dump truck, a jackhammer, a siren. When you hear the word loud, would you ever think, oh, it must have been a beautiful, warm sound? That's not really how loud expresses itself. There's a place for loud. Sometimes in music, like let's say the end of Mars from the planets, it pushes towards loud. It's very aggressive. And we want to push towards almost letting our tone go, but not. And so loud isn't the best word because, again, how you think of these things, the words you use to define them, can affect your playing of them. So strong is good. The thing that I tell particularly younger musicians is F stands for full. Don't even worry about forte and translating. F is full. A full, warm, rich sound. So that's crucial. The difficulty always comes, and it did for you, again, just in mezzo pianos occasionally. What do we do with those M dynamics? I'm not going to waste your time with defining everything. This is forte, piano is here, and then we stretch a tiny bit for pianissimo and fortissimo. What do we do with those things in the middle, those amorphous M things that nobody seems to know what to do with? How do you express those? How do you think of placing those within the context of the sound? I see a lot of people looking down, hoping I will go away soon. Don't worry, I will. But how do you think of those? Mezzo. The literal translation might be medium full or something. But how do you express those in relation to the other dynamics? Because the M dynamics, the danger of them is that they almost always creep up. I've never heard mezzo forte creep down. It always creeps up, and then you don't have any place to go when you're coming to a forte from mezzo forte. What I ask my musicians in my symphonic band to do, I have a regular band that I direct, the West Vancouver Youth Band. It's a 95-year tradition. I have 4 levels, beginner, junior, concert, and then a 90-piece symphonic band. And I ask all of my musicians on MF to take their pencil and put a line through the F so that they remember that that is not the goal. F is not the goal. The goal is to distance ourselves from the F. If you exaggerate mezzo forte and mezzo piano down a bit, you can't go wrong. Most of you are playing the mezzo piano really, really well. But occasionally, again, our balance got just a little off kilter. So that's dynamics. Are you still awake? Did you all go to bed at 8 o'clock last night? No. I'm assuming then 8:30. I'm going to assume good things. So, who here began playing in grade, do you begin band in Burnaby in 5 or 6? 7. And they're going to keep doing that? They better. That is the most short-sighted, backwards thing I just can't stand that. So who began in grade 7? And who here is in grade 9? Grade 10? Okay, so this is a remarkable achievement, playing this music with that little experience. Your performance, if I wasn't told who was sitting in front of me and how much time you've spent on your instruments, if I couldn't see you, I would have assumed that you were a first, second year college band. That's the sound you're making. It's warm, it's rich, the tone is beautiful. Who is our flute soloist? Yeah, your work in that was just absolutely spectacular. And at one point we had an oboe soloist. I assume, where's the oboe section? Well done. Who's playing the toms? The concert toms. Those are they're open at the bottom. Yes?
Yeah.
And the head's on the bottom, right? Okay. So those are, sorry, let me have a look. Yeah, concert toms, particularly when you have the ones that are open at the bottom, they ring like crazy. When you were playing, how did you, what did you think about your balance to the winds and brass? Perfect, he says. What did you think? Did you feel like you were under or over or just right in? Could you hear all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could hear them? Okay. Because and sometimes it has to do with the room. The problem is you rehearse in one room and then you have to go perform in another room. And the other room lacks this wall. You know, you can't bring that with you, it doesn't fit on the bus. And so our sound changes significantly. And so the toms were just a little over. It's a mezzo piano, you need to exaggerate that down, okay? Just for that. And at one point, I don't remember which piece, there are suspended cymbal rolls. Was that your own suspended cymbal?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Were you just pulling from the drum kit?
Yeah.
And where were you placing your mallets? Where were you playing?
Near the cymbal.
Okay. When you have, because it became shrill, because when you do that, it focuses the upper overtones of the cymbal. You need to play, and I said this on the recording, on the extreme left and right side of the cymbal, okay, right to the edges, and like that. Okay? So then we get a full range of overtones in the cymbal. We hear the low warm register as well as just the shrill register. And that's really important. Never play near the center or near the crown, and don't have your mallets together out here on one edge, because then we'll only get one set of the possible expressions of the cymbal. Outer edges, so we get bar. Okay? That'll make a big difference. So here's the thing with what I'm saying right now. You hear the level of detail we're talking about? We're not talking about, it'd be really nice if we all knew that F and F sharp were different notes. Okay? We're talking about really fine details in the music. And so that's where you're at. There's very little to be improved. Okay? You're incredible. I keep saying that, I'm sorry, but I was quite stunned at what I heard. I was adjudicating a band once that was doing a grade 5 work called Ghost Train. And sometimes music directors are over-optimistic about the possibilities of their ensemble. So when I see a grade 5 piece, sometimes I get nervous because Ghost Train is about this clattering ghost train going down the rails, and boy, was it ever that, except that it was coming off the rails, the band, they had overshot. And so I get worried. And then I heard you play passages, and I went, oh no, this is going to be fun. And then you played arabesque, and it was, I'm kind of at a loss for words, and I talk a lot.